Jack Collins never expected to be taken by aliens on his way home from work. He was walking to his car in the empty parking lot. His keys made jingling sounds in his hand. Then a bright blue light covered him. His last thought was that the light looked like the special effects in the sci-fi movies he watched with his daughter Lily. When Jack woke up, he was in a clean room. The walls seemed to glow with light. The air smelled strange, like a mix of electricity and medicine. As he could see better, he noticed 3 figures watching him from behind a clear wall. They were tall with pale purple skin. They had big eyes that blinked up and down instead of side to side. Their bodies were thin and sharp, like they were made of angles. "Hey there," Jack said, his voice bouncing off the walls. "I guess this isn't Kansas anymore." The aliens moved their long heads together. They talked to each other with clicks and whistles. One stepped forward and pressed a device against the clear wall. A robot-like voice filled the room. "Human sample taken for testing how much you can stand. Start test plan endurance." Jack sat up and ran his hand through his messy brown hair. "Test plan what? Listen, I have to work tomorrow and I need to feed my dog. Can we do this alien thing another time?" The aliens did not laugh at his joke. A part of the wall opened up and a metal arm came toward him. It held what looked like a metal ring. "Getting ready for pain test starts now," the robot voice said. As the arm came closer, Jack felt his heart beat faster. But instead of fear, he felt strangely calm. He had been through 3 trips to Afghanistan, a bad divorce, and raising a teenage daughter by himself. Whatever these aliens planned to do, he had seen worse. "All right," he said as the metal ring was put on his head. "Game on." The aliens watched Jack with great interest. In all their studies of humans, they had never seen one like him. Most humans asked for mercy or shut down when they felt the pain device. This one was very different. "Make the pain go up to level 3, the main alien told the others. Jack, whose name they knew from his ID cards, made a face as the pain device turned on. It sent feelings of bad pain all through his body. But then he smiled. "Is that all you can do?" Jack called out. His voice was tight but strong. "My ex-wife's lawyer hit harder than that." The main alien turned to the other aliens. "This human seems to be using some mind trick." "Maybe it is broken?" a female alien asked, moving, her thin fingers on the control panel. "No," the third alien said, looking at Jack's body readings. "His body shows he feels the pain. He is just dealing with it." Inside the test room, Jack had begun to think about his situation in a new way. His years in the army taught him that staying alive often meant keeping control of your mind, even when your body hurt. He decided to treat this alien pain test like the tough training games he did in the army. "Level 4, he heard the robot voice say. As waves of pain went through him, Jack closed his eyes and started to count. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. It was an old trick, focusing on something simple to ignore pain. By the time he reached 30, the worst pain had passed. He opened his eyes to see the aliens talking to each other with big movements. "You know," he called out, his voice rough but steady. "Where I come from, games usually have rules that are explained first, and maybe some snacks." The aliens got quiet and stared at him. "Did you just ask for food?" the robot voice asked. Jack shrugged. "Well, yeah. If we're going to be here a while, I need some energy. Do you have any beef jerky in space? Or is it all just that freeze-dried ice cream and protein pills?" After a short talk, the aliens brought out a tray of what looked like colorful jelly cubes. When they passed it through a small opening in the clear wall, Jack carefully tried one. It tasted like blueberries and something he didn't know. Not bad, just different. "Thanks," he said, giving them a thumbs up. "Now, about those rules." The aliens were confused by Jack's behavior. They had studied humans for many years. Most humans cried or begged when they felt pain. Some tried to fight back. None had ever asked for snacks or talked about rules like it was all a game. "This test subject is not normal," the female alien said. "Should we try a stronger pain level?" The main alien watched Jack eat another jelly cube. "No? Let's see what he does next." This is new data. Jack finished the jelly cubes and looked around his room. It was about the size of his living room at home. There was nothing in it except the platform he sat on. He stood up and started to walk around. "So, what's next on the menu?" he asked. "I'm guessing you folks didn't bring me all the way up here just to feed me space jelly." The robot voice spoke again. "Next test begins in 1 time unit." 1 time unit? What's that in human time? Minutes? Hours? Days? Jack asked. There was no answer. Jack nodded and started to do push-ups on the floor. If they were going to make him wait, he might as well stay in shape. The metal ring was still on his head, but it wasn't hurting him now. As he exercised, Jack thought about his situation. He was on an alien ship being tested for how much pain he could take. It was crazy. It was scary. But he had been in tight spots before. The key was to stay calm and look for a way out. 58, 59, 60, he counted as he finished. His push-ups. He rolled over and started doing sit-ups. Behind the clear wall, the aliens watched with growing interest. The main alien made notes on a screen. "This human uses physical activity to manage stress," he said. "Very adaptive." Jack finished his sit-ups and stood up. He walked to the clear wall and looked at the aliens. "You know, this would be more fun if we could talk. What are your names? Do you have names? I'm Jack." The aliens looked at each other, not sure what to do. This was not in their test plan. "I am Chief Science Officer Zivrek," the main alien finally said through the robot voice. "These are research specialists Nevtal and Kirmul." Jack smiled. "Nice to meet you all. So, Zivrek, what's the point of all this? Are you planning to invade Earth or something?" There was a long pause. Then the robot voice said, "That information is not for test subjects." Jack laughed. "Fair enough. Just making conversation." He walked back to the platform and sat down. The metal ring on his head started to feel warm. Jack knew the next test was coming. Instead of being afraid, he took deep breaths and prepared himself. "Bring it on," he said quietly. "Let's play." 3 days passed since Jack arrived on the alien ship. He kept track of time by counting his sleep cycles. The aliens ran many tests on him. Each test was meant to cause pain or fear, but Jack found ways to handle each one. Zivrek watched Jack through the clear wall. The alien scientist was puzzled. Humans were not supposed to act this way. Jack should have broken down by now. Instead, he seemed almost happy at times. "Start the sleep test," Zivrek told Nevtal and Kirmul. "Keep him awake for 50 time units," the robot voice spoke to Jack. "Sleep will not be allowed. Any attempt to sleep will result in stimulus." Jack was sitting on the floor doing leg stretches. He looked up at the ceiling where the voice came from. "No sleep, huh? Reminds me of my first year with my daughter. She had colic. Didn't sleep, more than 2 hours at a time for months." The aliens didn't understand what he meant, but they started the test. Every time Jack's eyes stayed closed for more than a few seconds, a loud noise would blast through the room, or the floor would vibrate, or a spray of cold water would hit his face. After 10 hours, most test subjects became angry or started to cry. After 20 hours, they often begged for the test to stop. Jack did something different. He started to tell stories. "Did I ever tell you about the time my unit got stuck in a sandstorm in Afghanistan?" he asked the aliens, knowing they were always listening. "We were in these tents that were not meant for that kind of weather. Sand got everywhere, in our food, in our clothes, in our guns. We couldn't sleep for 3 days. He kept talking, moving around the room to stay awake. He told stories about his life, about his daughter Lily, about his time in the army, about his dog Max, who he had rescued from a shelter. Behind the clear wall, Kirmul made notes on her screen. "The human is using verbal communication as a staying awake method, but he seems to be directing it at us, as if we are having a conversation." Zivrek nodded. "Humans are social creatures. Even in isolation, this one tries to make connections." By the 30th hour, Jack's stories had become less clear. His words started to run together. His eyes were red. But he kept moving, kept talking. The trick is, he said, his voice rough from talking so much, to focus on something else. My drill sergeant taught us that. The body wants to give up, the mind can choose not to. At the 40th hour, Jack started to do math problems out loud. 9 times 7 is 63. 63 plus 22 is 85. He tapped his fingers against his leg as he counted. This is a concentration technique, Nevtal observed. He is keeping his brain active to fight the sleep need. When the 50 hours were finally over, the robot voice announced, "Sleep test complete. Rest period allowed." Jack collapsed onto the platform that served as his bed, but before he fell asleep, he gave a tired thumbs up to the clear wall. "Good game, purple people. I win that round." He slept for nearly 10 hours. When he woke up, a new tray of food cubes waited for him. This time, there were also 2 containers of water. Jack ate and drank, feeling his strength return. "What's next on the agenda?" he asked, stretching his arms over his head. The robot voice answered, "Temperature endurance test will begin." The room started to get cold. Very cold, Jack could see, his breath in the air. He rubbed his arms, trying to stay warm. The temperature kept dropping. "Okay, this is a new one," he said. He started to jog in place, then he did jumping jacks, then push-ups. Anything to keep his blood flowing and his body warm. The aliens watched with interest as the temperature went lower and lower. Most subjects would be shivering uncontrollably by now. Jack was, but he kept moving. In survival training, Jack called out between breaths. They taught us that movement is key in cold situations. Keep the blood flowing. After an hour, the test changed. Now the room became very hot. Sweat poured down Jack's face and back. He stopped moving and sat down, trying to use as little energy as possible. "Hot is harder than cold," he admitted. "But still not as bad as that summer in Iraq. We used to joke that we could fry eggs on our helmets." He closed his eyes and focused on his breathing, slow and steady, in through the nose, out through the mouth. He remembered a meditation class he had taken after his divorce to help with his anger issues. Now those skills were helping him survive alien torture. Behind the clear wall, Zivrek was showing the test results to a new alien visitor. This one was taller than the others, with darker purple skin and markings on its face that suggested higher rank. "As you can see, Commander Vexor, this human has endured every test beyond expected parameters," Zivrek explained. "He has turned our scientific protocols into what he calls games." Commander Vexor watched Jack with narrow eyes. "This is concerning. If humans can adapt to our methods so easily, our plans may need to change." Inside the test room, the temperature finally returned to normal. Jack wiped sweat from his face with his shirt. "Whew, that was a tough one. What's the score now?" "Jack, 3, aliens, 0. The robot voice didn't answer his question. Instead, it said, "Prepare for gravity adjustment test." Jack felt his body suddenly become very heavy. It was like someone had put weights all over him. He could barely lift his arms. "Increased gravity simulation," the robot voice explained. 3 times Earth normal." Jack grunted with effort as he tried to move. "Now this is interesting," he said, each word a struggle. He managed to roll onto his stomach. With great effort, he pushed himself up to his hands and knees. "In the army," he gasped. "We had to carry packs, almost half our body weight, for miles." Slowly, shakily, he got to his feet. His legs trembled with the effort. Sweat dripped from his face, but he stood. Behind the clear wall, Commander Vexor made a sound of surprise. "Impossible. No test subject has ever stood under triple gravity." Zivrek nodded. "This human continues to defy our expectations." In the test room, Jack took one step, then another. Each step was like moving through thick mud while carrying a heavy rock, but he kept going. "One step at a time," he said to himself. "Just like life." He made it to the clear wall and placed his hand against it. He looked at the aliens watching. him and gave a tired smile. "Nice try," he said, "but I'm still in the game." Commander Vexor turned to Zivrek. "I want to know everything about this human. Where he comes from, what makes him different, and most importantly, if there are more like him on Earth." Zivrek bowed slightly. "Yes, Commander. We will prepare a full report." The gravity returned to normal, and Jack fell to his knees, his body suddenly light again. He took deep breaths, letting his muscles recover. "You know," he called out, knowing the aliens could hear him. "On Earth, we usually get a prize when we win a game. Just saying." He didn't expect an answer. But after a moment, the small opening in the clear wall appeared and a tray slid through. On it was something that looked almost like a chocolate bar. Jack laughed. "Well, what do you know, they can be trained." He picked up the chocolate-like food and took a bite. It tasted better than the jelly cubes. As he ate, he wondered what test would come next, but he wasn't afraid. Each test he passed made him stronger, more confident. "Bring it on," he said quietly. "I'm ready to play another round." A week had passed since Jack first arrived on the alien ship. He knew this because he made marks on the floor with a bit of food tray he had broken off. The aliens had tried many tests on him. They made him feel pain. They kept him from sleeping. They made him too hot and too cold. They made gravity stronger and weaker. But Jack had not broken down. Commander Vexor was not happy. He stood with Zivrek and watched Jack through the clear wall. Jack was doing handstand push-ups against the wall upside down. "Why does he keep doing physical activities?" Commander Vexor asked. "Is he trying to show strength?" Zivrek checked his notes. "From what we can tell, humans release chemicals in their brains when they exercise. These chemicals make them feel good. He is using exercise to fight the bad feelings from our tests." Commander Vexor made a clicking sound with his mouth. This was the Vexorian way of showing frustration. "We need new tests, something he cannot turn into a game." Inside the test room, Jack finished his handstand push-ups and flipped back to his feet. He was tired, but he felt good. Keeping his body strong helped him stay positive. He walked to the clear wall and tapped on it. "Hey, purple people. Got anything new today? I'm getting bored." The aliens looked at each other. The human was asking for more tests? This was not normal behavior. The robot voice spoke. "New test series begins. Now memory alteration test." Jack raised his eyebrows. "Memory alteration? That sounds interesting." A new panel opened in the wall. This time a device that looked like a helmet came out. It had many small lights on it. "Please place memory device on head," the robot voice instructed. Jack picked up the helmet and looked at it. "Let me guess. This will make me see things that aren't real?" "The device creates sensory input based on memory extraction," the voice explained. Jack shrugged and put the helmet on his head. It fit snugly, with small pads that touched different parts of his scalp. "Okay, I'm ready. Let the mind games begin." The bar. Helmet activated with a soft hum. Jack closed his eyes as images began to form in his mind. He was back in Afghanistan. He could feel the hot sun, smell the dust, hear the distant sounds of a city. It felt completely real. Then he saw his old unit walking down a street. He was with them. This was a real memory. He recognized the day. It was the day they had been attacked. The day his friend Steve had died. "I see what you're doing," Jack said out loud, knowing the aliens could hear him. "You're trying to make me relive bad memories." The scene continued to play out in his mind. They were approaching a small building. In real life, this was when the bomb had gone off. Jack felt his heart rate increase. His hands started to sweat. But then he did something the aliens didn't expect. He changed the memory. In his mind, he made his team stop before they reached the building. He made himself call out a warning. In this new version, they found the bomb. No one got hurt. Steve lived. Behind the clear wall, Nevtal looked at the readings from the helmet. This is strange. He is rejecting the memory feed. He is creating a new scenario. Zivrek leaned closer to the screen. How is this possible? The memory device should override his mental control. Humans have imagination, Kirmul suggested. Perhaps he is using this ability to fight the memory alteration. Inside Jack's mind, the scene changed. Now he was seeing his ex-wife, Kate. She was yelling at him, her face red with anger. This was from their last big fight before the divorce. Another painful memory. But again, Jack changed it. He made himself stay calm. He made himself listen better. He turned the fight into a conversation. He created a different ending. "Nice try," Jack said out loud, his voice steady despite the emotional images in his mind. "But I've already made peace with these memories. They can't hurt me anymore." Commander Vexor watched in disbelief. "How is he doing this?" "I'm not sure," Zivrek admitted. "But it appears that this human has developed mental defenses we did not know were possible." The aliens tried more memories. They showed Jack the day his father died. They showed him mistakes he had made, times he had failed. But each time, Jack found a way to accept the memory or change it into something he could handle. After an hour, they turned off the helmet. Jack took it off and set it down. His face was tired and his eyes were wet with tears. But he was smiling. "That was a good one," he said. "Really made me work. But memories are just stories we tell ourselves. And I've learned I can change the ending of my stories." Commander Vexor had seen enough. "We need to try the isolation test." The robot voice spoke to Jack. "Beginning isolation period, all interaction will cease." The lights in the room dimmed until Jack could barely see. The clear wall turned dark so he couldn't see the aliens anymore. All sounds from outside stopped. He was alone in near darkness. "Oh, I get it," Jack said to the empty room. "You want to see if being alone will break me?" No one answered. Jack sat down on his platform bed. He had been through isolation before, in military training. It was hard, but he knew how to handle it. He began to talk to himself. He told himself jokes. He sang songs. He recited poems he remembered from school. He made up stories about what he would do when he got back home. "When I get back, I'm going to take Lily camping," he said to the darkness. "She's been asking to go to the mountains. We'll roast marshmallows and tell ghost stories." The aliens could still see and hear him even though he couldn't see them. They watched as hours passed, then a full day. Jack kept talking. He did exercises. He paced the room. He never stopped moving or making noise. "Most subjects break down after 10 hours of isolation," Kirmul noted. "It has been 26 hours, and he is still active." Zivrek nodded. "He is creating his own stimulation, using his voice and body to fill the emptiness." After 2 days of isolation, the aliens finally turned the lights back on. The clear wall became see-through again. Jack blinked in the sudden brightness. He looked tired and his voice was hoarse from talking so much. But he was still standing. "Welcome back," he said to the aliens. "I missed you guys." Commander Vexor looked at Zivrek. "I am starting to think this human cannot be broken by our normal methods." Zivrek agreed. "He turns every test into a challenge he can overcome. He finds ways to adapt that we did not think possible. Then we must try something more extreme," Commander Vexor decided. "Prepare the reality simulator. We will use the ultimate test." Zivrek looked worried. "The reality simulator has never been used on humans before. We don't know how their minds will respond. This human has shown he can handle our other tests," Commander Vexor said. "Now we will see if he can handle the ultimate one." Inside the test room, Jack drank water and ate some food cubes. He felt very tired after the isolation test, but he also felt proud. He had passed another of their challenges. "I wonder what they'll try next," he thought. "Whatever it is, I'll find a way through it." He didn't know that the aliens were preparing their most difficult test yet, a test that would show him things no human was meant to see. Jack was sleeping when the aliens came into his room. This was the first time they had entered since he arrived. 3 tall purple figures stood over him. One was Zivrek. The others were new helpers wearing white coverings over their bodies. "The human must be moved to the reality chamber," Zivrek told the helpers. Be careful. This one is stronger than he looks. Jack opened his eyes as they lifted him. He did not fight them. He was curious about what was happening. They carried him through a long hall with glowing walls. Other aliens stopped to watch as they passed. "Taking me on a field trip?" Jack asked. Nice to finally get out of that room. The aliens did not answer. They brought him to a new room much bigger than his test room. In the middle was a table with straps. Around it were many machines with lights and screens. Commander Vexor stood by the table. "Place the human on the simulation table," Commander Vexor ordered. The helpers put Jack on the table and secured straps over his arms, legs, and chest. Jack tested the straps. They were very tight. "So, what's this game called?" Jack asked. He was trying to sound brave, but he felt nervous. This looked more serious than the other tests. Zivrek moved to a control panel. "This is the reality simulator. It creates full sensory experiences that feel completely real." "Like virtual reality?" Jack asked. "We have that on Earth too." Commander Vexor made a sound like a short laugh. "Your technology is primitive. This does not just show you images. It makes you feel, smell, taste, and touch another reality. Your mind will not know the difference between the simulation and real life." A helper placed a smooth metal cap on Jack's head. It was cold against his skin. Tiny needles extended from the cap and touched his scalp. They didn't hurt, but he could feel them making contact. "The ultimate test will now begin," Commander Vexor announced. "If you survive with your mind intact, human, we will have learned something valuable about your species." Jack swallowed hard. "And if I don't survive with my mind intact? Then we will also have learned something valuable, Commander," Vexor said. Zivrek pressed buttons on the control panel. "Beginning simulation in 3 time units, 2, 1. The world around Jack disappeared. At first there was only darkness. Then he found himself standing in a field. He looked down at his body. He was wearing his old army uniform. He could feel the fabric, smell the grass, hear birds singing. It felt completely real. "Hello, Jack." A voice came from behind him. Jack turned around. A man stood there in a similar uniform. It was Steve, his friend who had died in Afghanistan. "Steve?" Jack's voice shook. "But you're dead." Steve smiled. "Am I? I feel pretty alive to me." Jack reached out slowly and touched Steve's shoulder. He felt solid and warm. Real. "This isn't real," Jack said, more to himself than to Steve. "The aliens put me in some kind of simulation." "What aliens?" Steve laughed. "Have you been watching too many sci-fi movies again? We're just on leave, enjoying some downtime before we ship out tomorrow." Jack looked around. The fields stretched out to meet mountains in the distance. The sun was warm on his face. A light breeze moved the grass. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. "No," Jack said firmly. "This is a test. I remember being on an alien ship. This is just a simulation." Steve's face changed. His smile disappeared. "Why do you always have to ruin everything? Jack, you could be happy here. You could stay here with me and the others." As Steve spoke, more people appeared in the field. Jack's father, who had died 5 years ago. His ex-wife, Kate, smiling at him like she used to before things went bad. All the people he had lost or hurt were there, looking happy to see him. "We can all be together," his father said. "No pain, no loss, just happiness." Jack felt tears in his eyes. It was so tempting. But he shook his head. "This isn't real. You're not real." The scene changed suddenly. Now Jack was in his house. Lily, his daughter, was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. She looked up and smiled at him. "Hi, Dad. Can you help me with my math?" She looked so real. Her voice, her smile, the way she chewed on her pencil when she was thinking. Jack wanted to go to her, to sit beside her and help with her homework like he did in real life. But he stopped himself. "You're not Lily. The real Lily is back on Earth, probably worried sick about me." The fake Lily's face turned sad. "But I Need you, Dad. If you stay here with me, you'll never have to worry about disappointing me or not being there when I need you. This hit Jack hard. His biggest fear had always been failing his daughter, being a bad father, not being there for her like he promised when her mother left. I know what you're doing, Jack said, his voice stronger now. You're trying to use my fears against me, make me want to stay in this fake world. Behind the controls of the reality simulator, Zivrik watched the readings with surprise. He is resisting the reality integration. Most subjects accept the simulation as real within minutes. Commander Vexor leaned closer to the screens. Increase the emotional input. Find his breaking point. In the simulation, Jack's world changed. Again. Now he was in a hospital room. Lily was in a bed looking pale and sick. Machines beeped around her. A doctor stood nearby with a sad face. She's very sick, Mr. Collins, the fake doctor said. She's been asking for you. Where have you been? Jack felt his heart breaking. This was his worst nightmare, but he forced himself to remember the truth. This is not real, he said loudly. My daughter is healthy. This is just a simulation trying to break me. The fake doctor, Lily, and the hospital room flickered like a bad TV signal. Jack pressed harder. I know what's real. I'm strapped to a table on an alien ship. You're trying to trap me in a fantasy world. It won't work. In the control room, alarms started to sound. The simulation was becoming unstable. He's rejecting the reality construct, Zivrik said with disbelief. He's breaking the simulation from inside. Commander Vexor looked at the human's vital signs. His mind is fighting back. How is this possible? Inside the simulation, Jack was now in a space that looked broken. Parts of different scenes mixed together. His house, the field, the hospital, and other places all jumbled up. People from his life appeared and disappeared. You could be happy here, Jack, they said with the same voice. Why fight it? Why go back to pain and struggle? Jack closed his eyes. Because real life matters. Even with all its pain and problems, it's real. My real daughter needs her real father. Not some copy living in a dream world. He opened his eyes and shouted at the broken sky of the simulation. I know this isn't real. Let me out. In the control room, the machines sparked and smoked. The simulation was collapsing. Zivrik quickly shut down the system. Jack's body jerked on the table as the metal cap disconnected from his mind. Jack gasped as he returned to reality. His heart was racing. Sweat covered his body. But his mind was clear. Commander Vexor stared at him with what looked like respect. Incredible. No subject has ever broken free from the reality simulator before. Jack took deep breaths, trying to calm his body. That was intense, but not intense enough to make me forget what's real. Zivrik came to stand beside the table. How did you know it wasn't real? The simulation takes your own memories and makes perfect copies. Jack gave a tired smile. Because nothing's perfect. Real life is messy and hard and sometimes painful. But it's mine, and I won't give it up, not even for a perfect dream world. Commander Vexor made a gesture, and the helpers removed the straps holding Jack down. He sat up, slowly, his body stiff. I believe we have learned what we needed from this human, Commander Vexor told Zivrik. Prepare him for the final phase. Jack looked at them, suddenly alert despite his exhaustion. Final phase? What does that mean? Commander Vexor's vertical pupils narrowed. It means, Jack Collins, that your time with us is coming to an end. Jack sat in a new room on the alien ship. This room was different from his test room. It had some furniture that looked almost like chairs and a table. The walls were still that strange glowing purple color, but the light was softer. It felt less like a prison and more like a meeting room. Commander Vexor and Zivrik sat across from Jack. They had brought him here after the reality simulator test. Jack was tired but alert. He watched the aliens carefully, wondering what would happen. Next. Jack Collins, Commander Vexor said through the translation device. You have shown remarkable abilities during our tests. Jack nodded. Thanks, I think. So, what happens now? More tests? Zivrik made a motion with his long fingers that Jack had learned meant no. The testing phase is complete. We have gathered sufficient data. Jack leaned forward. Data for what exactly? You never told me why you took me in the first place. Commander Vexor and Zivrek looked at each other. After a moment, Commander Vexor seemed to make a decision. Our species has been studying Earth for many cycles, Commander Vexor explained. We have observed your wars, your conflicts, your constant fighting. Humans seemed aggressive but weak, easy to break. We needed to test this theory before making further plans. Jack understood what they weren't saying. You wanted to see how easy it would be to invade Earth, to see if humans would just give up when things got hard. Yes, Zivrek admitted. That was the purpose of our research. Jack smiled a little. And I messed up your results by not breaking. Commander Vexor made a sound that might have been a laugh. You did more than not break, human. You adapted to every test. You turned torture into challenges. You maintained your mental strength under conditions that have broken subjects from much more advanced species. Jack shrugged. I just did what humans do. We adapt. We survive. We find ways to keep going, even when things seem impossible. Zivrek was taking notes on a small screen. Is this attitude common among humans? Or are you an exceptional case? Jack thought about this. I'm nothing special. There are millions of humans who would do what I did. Maybe they would use different methods, but they would keep fighting. Keep adapting. It's what we do. Commander Vexor stood up and walked around the table. Based on your performance and this information, I have made a recommendation to our High Council. Our invasion plans for Earth will be delayed indefinitely. Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. That's good to hear. So what happens to me now? You will be returned to Earth, Zivrek said. Your memory of this experience will be removed for your protection and ours. Jack frowned. You're going to erase my memory? Everything I went through here will just be gone? Commander Vexor nodded. It is our standard procedure. You will be placed back where we found you with no memory of these events. Jack didn't like this idea. All that work, all those tests I passed, and I won't even remember it? That doesn't seem fair. Zivrek looked confused. Fair? This was not a competition, Jack Collins. It was scientific research. Maybe to you, Jack said, but to me it was a game, a challenge, and I won. I'd like to remember that. Commander Vexor studied Jack with those strange vertical pupil eyes. Your memory would be a security risk. You could tell others about us. Jack thought for a moment. What if I promised not to tell anyone? Who would believe me anyway? They would just think I was crazy or making it up. The aliens discussed this in their clicking language. Jack couldn't understand them, but he could tell they were disagreeing about something. Finally, Commander Vexor turned back to him. We cannot risk leaving your full memory intact. However, perhaps we could leave impressions, feelings, a sense of accomplishment without specific details. Jack nodded. I can live with that, as long as it wasn't all for nothing. Zivrek pressed some buttons on his screen. I will prepare the memory adjustment device. It will be more precise than a full erasure. A thought occurred to Jack. Before I go, I have a question. Have you taken other humans? Are there others here now? Commander Vexor hesitated, then answered. There have been 12 human subjects before you. None lasted beyond the second level of testing. There are no others currently on this vessel. What happened to them? Jack asked, not sure he wanted to know the answer. They were returned to Earth, as you will be, Zivrek assured him. We do not harm test subjects permanently. Jack felt relieved. At least these aliens weren't killers, just very determined scientists. Well, that's something. A door opened and Kirmul entered with a small device that looked like the memory helmet from before, but smaller. She nodded to Jack, almost respectfully. The return process will begin shortly, she said. Jack stood. Up! Before you zap my brain, I want to say something. Your tests were tough. Really tough. But do you know what kept me going? Thinking about home, about my daughter, about my dog, about my life on Earth. That's what humans fight for. Not just to survive, but to get back to the people and places we love. The three aliens looked at him silently. Then Commander Vexer did something surprising. He extended his hand toward Jack, mimicking the human handshake gesture that Jack had used several times. "Your species is more complex than we understood," Commander Vexer said. "Perhaps in the future we will meet again under different circumstances." Jack shook the alien's hand. It felt cool and smooth with too many fingers, but the gesture was clear. "I'd prefer those circumstances to involve less torture and more conversation, if possible." For the first time, Jack thought he saw something, like a smile on the alien's face. Kirmul approached with the memory device. "Please sit. This will cause no pain." Jack sat down. "Of course it won't. That would be too easy." The device was placed on his head. Jack closed his eyes as it activated. He felt a warm sensation spreading through his mind. Images of the past. Days began to blur and fade. The pain tests, the sleep deprivation, the gravity chamber, the reality simulator. All becoming fuzzy, distant. "Remember," he whispered as his consciousness began to fade. "It was all just a game. And I won." When Jack Collins woke up, he was in his car in the parking lot of the factory where he worked. It was early morning. His phone showed 17 missed calls from his boss, his ex-wife, and his daughter, Lily. Somehow he had lost nearly a week of time. He had no clear memory of where he had been or what had happened. But he felt different, stronger somehow, as if he had faced something difficult and survived. There was a sense of victory in his mind, though he couldn't say what he had won. He called Lily first. "Hey, sweetheart, I'm okay. I'm coming home now." As he drove, Jack looked up at the morning sky. For some reason, he felt like he should be looking for something up there. Something purple. But the feeling passed quickly, replaced by a strange certainty that whatever challenges life threw at him next, he could handle them. After all, it was all just a game. And Jack Collins was very good at games.